What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Evan Aldo here. If you guys enjoy the content, smash the like button. Always appreciate that. Now, things look better. Things look a little bit better. Things look good. Things have been boring the past few days, but I'll tell you why I'm in a Bitcoin long right now. I'm also in an ETH swing long, and I think there's no reason to kind of close these out or get scared. There's more bullish things kind of confirming on the charts. We got Powell coming up to speak, I believe, on the 29th, so that's only about 5 days away. And I do think that may be a big turning point for the market, potentially leading to a bullish November, and potentially, if we're lucky, leading to how these things played out towards the end of 2017 into 2018. Now, if you guys are interested in more info on these trades, stop losses, take profits, entry points, check out the Discord down below. That's the first link down below. If you guys are interested in trading as well and you want one free month in the Discord, what you can do is sign up to BloFin or BidFi and deposit at least $100 and then open a support ticket in the Discord with your UID or your email, and we'll give you one free month in there. Got me in there, K-Mac in there, Nightshade as well. Really good traders, 20% cash back off your fees only at my link. And BidFi is doing a deposit bonus as well. There's a deposit bonus on BloFin as well. They both do them, but BidFi, this is an exclusive one. Nice 10% there. Ends on November 1st. 20% of your fees for life for that one as well. Now, let's get into the TA here, the most important part of what we're looking at. And I'll start with ETH a little bit, kind of a deep wave for me here in the 2-day. It's looking good on some of these time frames. Daily as well, you're getting like a nice bull div here and making higher lows, which is really, really good here. And the money flow is coming up, potentially breaking up to 4,400, 4,300. So that's really good. And if you can break up there, maybe you break up there and then Powell speaks. Most likely it's going to be official end of QT. Now, the last time they officially ended QT, markets did come down, for that actually signaled, markets coming down. So if it's like that, markets are going to come down. However, Bitcoin dominance did come down with it. Here's the last time. It was around the end of July 2019. Bitcoin dominance came up a little bit and then started to come down. So, if it's like that, it could be, we got this big wick up, so this could signify you already that already played out a bit, and then more of that could bring us down. More of that could bring us down. It's hard to say. I do think if you get kind of some of these trigger waves confirmed in the 4-day, that would bring Bitcoin dominance down, obviously help out Ethereum, and help out some altcoins as well, if history repeats. Now, Ethereum in the short term looking pretty good. I think the odds are pretty high that you will break up to 4,300 here. And I think that, obviously the big question is, are we all done? Did Bitcoin peak out in October 10th, October 11th, exactly a month before in the 4-year cycle that it did last time? Maybe it's possible. That would be the 18-month thing. That's always peaked out 18 months out of the Bitcoin halving. That's probably not going to always be the case forever, but we'll see. I do think if the 3-week does, the biggest point here, if the 3-week prints and confirms a red dot here, it's probably over on Ethereum. Until then, I would remain optimistic, and I think there is more potential here. You had your drop down October 10th, and then, you should be well on your way. I think the next week is going to be very, give us a lot of answers. That's what I will say. Bitcoin as well right now. I'll look at it briefly. Similar to kind of Ethereum holding kind of that area right there. 108 is the most important area to hold, I think. And so far we've done that pretty successfully. Trigger wave for me on the 3-day. So I think if all goes well, if all really goes well here, let's just look at some of these trigger waves that they have given us. And if you can repeat something like that, maybe it's starting now, you could be well on your way to a new all-time high by early November potentially. Maybe what Powell says brings us up. That's that potential. We could break downward, but I think in all likelihood the odds are more tilted towards coming up into the end of this month, into November. So that's what I would argue here. ETH versus Bitcoin, hopefully you hold this area right here. It generally looks like, you got a little bit more gas in the tank on Ethereum's Bitcoin evaluation. I would think you would continue forward. Trigger wave forming on the 4-day. It's pretty good. Like I talked about Bitcoin dominance, some of these waves here to help us out for alts. I don't know. This could be a potential top here, or you could break up higher. Maybe you break up back this way. It's hard to say, man. It's hard to say. If it's like 2019 when they ended QT, this would go up a little bit higher. That's what we're kind of looking at there. It would go up higher and then it would fall down while alts outperform Bitcoin, but that would happen within the next month. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I guess if you think things will go on into 2026 super cycle or whatever, then that fits that theory. I'm kind of not on board with that, but we'll see. BNB coming down a little bit. This has been the talk of the town, so might as well look at it, you know. Trigger wave for me here. I would assume if everything else goes up, this probably will break up to 1300. I could see 1500 for this into end of year. I don't know. I think 1,000, 2,000 is a lot to ask for, but 1500 could be a good goal for this. Probably one of the safer alts, but you never know. And here's the thing. I mean, total 3. You know, you hit that bottom end of October. We were a few weeks early this time. That could have easily been your bottom. Maybe dilly-dally around. The second bottom was in early December, so that's when things got interesting, right? Yeah, early December. That's when things got interesting here because you got in about another month, a little over a month. Maybe the second bottom's at this point. So that would suggest, yeah, that would kind of strengthen that 2017 theory. Maybe the end of QT bringing this down a little bit, and then you have a good December into January. So I guess you could argue we got some time. I mean, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens here. And then others versus Bitcoin, maybe a similar thing. I mean, this wick is kind of just a scam wick down, but I mean, right here is your other bottom. So maybe you come down a bit more, form a double bottom, slightly higher low or something, and then you continue forward. This doesn't look like the most bottomy thing at the moment. It looks kind of bottomy from that to not lose that point, but right in the short term, it does look like you may come down lower. Others versus Ethereum, I don't, yeah, similar thing. It's come down lower here, and maybe ETH outperforms others for a bit. Let's say if we zoom out and look at ETH versus, yeah, it was that wick and others did well against ETH there, and then that 2017. So yeah, it was coming up a while in 2017, a very different ball game this time, but it did come up a lot in the kind of early parts of 2015, and then just kind of fell off a cliff against Ethereum. But yeah, it's kind of hard to say with that. But I do think with this deep wave here, that 2 week, you may get a jump in the next 2 months into the end of the year, potentially. Couple things I was looking at here, SPY versus Bitcoin. I mean, this is interesting too because your SPY bottomed out against Bitcoin in April 21. So theoretically, if you're converting into the SPY, that would have been the best time to do so then. I mean, obviously in this cycle it was December. Here so far you got one low, and yeah, you got one low in July. So I mean, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, if you are, somebody who's planning on converting to this SPY, this would be, you're getting close to those points. The other thing too, that, in terms of taking profits, if you look at like Berkshire Hathaway versus Bitcoin, look at that monthly. And Berkshire Hathaway did better than the SPY in both 2018 and 2022, and I believe, 2014 as well. So it's something to look at. This is its Bitcoin evaluation here. And let's see, what is it? 7 days you confirm on the monthly here. So, that's a very rare bullish sign pattern here for converting, for Berkshire Hathaway to Bitcoin. Now, maybe Bitcoin's topped out or is close to topping out, and then ETH could keep going in November, December. There is that possibility. It could steal some momentum. There is that possibility. The other thing too I found interesting was if you look at, people have talked about gold. I think that's kind of tapering out. I still think it will probably go up next year or what? Maybe not next year, but in the coming years. But it's not going to give you the returns that it's given you lately, I don't think. But this deep wave here for Berkshire Hathaway versus gold, 100% increase on gold from that low. You're down. It's a good deal against gold. Down 46% against gold. That's a good deal on that evaluation. The other thing too is SPY is now, if you look at SPY, it generally keeps bleeding against Berkshire Hathaway, but had a little jump against Berkshire Hathaway too. That looks like it could keep going up, but maybe you roll over as you generally follow that pattern and outperform the SPY for Berkshire Hathaway. So maybe, just maybe, you will see similar to 2018, 2022, and 2014 in the fact that Berkshire Hathaway outperformed the S&P 500. That is possible because you're getting a 35% discount here. I think it's, if you look at the opposite, I know some people probably don't care about these evaluations, but this point, yeah, you're kind of hitting this point on Berkshire Hathaway versus SPY. It doesn't look the best. I'll be frank with you. It doesn't look the best. Like, it looks like it may want to go down farther, but we'll see what happens. I know it's under new management and stuff, but this is like one of the only things I could find that outperformed, everything basically in 2014, 2018, and 2022. So there's that potential there. ApeCoin is the only thing that's actually been jumping up a lot. I don't know exactly why. I know Ape Fest is coming up. People have been excited for that. Up 24%. We'll see if anything comes of this. Who knows? I could see if all goes well and you do see at least some type of mini altcoin season or something, jump up to like $1.18 or whatever, which would be a nice jump up. We'll see what happens. I do think a lot of altcoins potentially could, go 2 or 3x in the next coming months if you see something similar to what happened in 2024 or 2023, assuming this bull run is not over. But you look at some of these, you already got the true wave to the downside on Cardano. I wouldn't say this is as strong as the true wave that may eventually form an ETH to the downside, but there's some concerns. I'll give you that. There's some concerns, and if it is like if we look at like ETH back in 2019, right here, this is when they ended QT, and then you just fell off and you kind of entered another extended bear market or whatever. This could be interesting too, because if you did this, now that would be a June of 26 low. When did ETH bottom in the last 4-year cycle? June of 22. I don't know if you're going back down to 1300. Maybe not that low, but maybe a little bit better than that. So there could be that potential. Now, between now and then, could we jump up to 5800? Sure. Between, in the next month or two, sure, it's possible. Hard to say. I know people maybe a little annoyed with this video, like, oh, what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I can tell you is that my plan to get out of ETH is on this 3-week wave to the bottom, and then you guys know the things I'm looking to convert to, S&P 500, Berkshire Hathaway, those things. You could look at the ETH Berkshire Hathaway valuation, ETH S&P 500 valuation. I don't see anything like that bearish to sell ETH and convert to the S&P 500 yet. But this same 3-week could probably be the place. You still have not made a new all-time high against the S&P 500 in 2021, which is annoying. That's not a good sign if you can't do that by the end of this year. Do you have potential to jump up to these points by the end of this year? Maybe. Can ETH jump up, 144%? I think that's a little high. It's a little much, but stranger things have happened. We'll see what happens, guys. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Check out the Discord if you're interested. Check out the exchanges if you're interested. I always appreciate you smashing the like button. See you guys really soon. Subscribe if you're new. Goodbye.